Good evening. Welcome. Please take a seat. Thank you very much for coming and joining us this evening. And I understand you have some questions regarding your finances and the future of your finances. Okay. This consultation is free of charge. I genuinely simply want to see you succeed in your future. Yeah. Can I offer you a glass of water or anything? Okay. So, tell me, do you have a specific age at which you would like to retire? Okay. Okay. Maybe in your 50s? Well, that would be nice. Yeah. Okay. And are you involved right now with any retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs? Okay. Okay. Well, a 401k, the benefit is that if you are a salaried employee with a company, the company will match your contributions, which certainly can add up over time. And then you have individual retirement accounts in either an IRA or a Roth IRA. And they behave sort of similarly, but there are a few key distinctions. We'll get into that more in a bit. Let me ask you a question. What is your current, debt ratio? Well, do you know, are you in any debt? Like, credit card, mortgage, auto, car, loan or lease, all these things. Okay. Well, the number one bit of advice I give to, all young people, but just all people in general, is as soon as possible, eliminate all credit card debt. Yeah. Credit card debt is just a brutal weight around your neck that will just be continually more and more difficult to unload, basically. Yeah. Relax. Hey, it's okay. Relax. Wherever you are in your current financial journey it's exactly where you are, and we can't change it, so there's no use in resisting it. The good thing is that whatever holes we have dug ourselves into, we are equally capable of digging ourselves out. And yeah, can I tell you a little story? When my family, one of the great lessons my mom and dad taught me was not to walk in their shoes. What happened was my dad, they grew up very poor. My father was a minister, and ministers they're not wealthy unless they're scamming, but that's a vast majority of ministers live very, very humble lives, as did my parents. They even had a paper route. They would drive around in our station wagon, which we inherited from my dad's folks, and they would deliver newspapers at 5 a.m. to help make ends meet. Well, eventually my dad leaves the ministry and joins the Air Force. And we live also a very humble life in the Air Force, living on base housing and having access to things like free medical. When you're in the military, medical is free, which was great for my brother and I. My parents like to say that we kind of grew up on penicillin and amoxicillin. We always had, ear infections, and my brother even had his tonsils taken out for, after X amount of cases of tonsillitis, they decide, well, it might just be better if we remove those little puppies. Well, when my dad got out of the service and he joined the private sector, he got a big pay raise. And like many people, when they get a big pay raise, we tend to goldfish. Do you know what that means, to goldfish? Yeah, well, goldfish have a unique characteristic in that if you keep a goldfish in a small bowl, the goldfish stays small. If you give the goldfish a bigger and bigger aquarium, the goldfish will get bigger and bigger, depending on the amount of space that it has. And humans, we often do this. You start making more money, you start spending more money. And my parents, very unfortunately, fell into the credit card trap, where it seems at first like almost like free money. Just put it on the credit card. Oh yeah, just put that on the credit card. We'll worry about it later. Put that on the credit card. We'll worry about it later. And this led them to a lot of headache and frustration throughout their lives. So if there's one bit of advice that I give to you and anybody, get out of credit card debt. Yeah. Almost do whatever it takes. And then begin. And for young people, of college age, I really want to, I can't stress this enough either. One of the great sins of modern America is the college student loan program, where the loans are given out to anybody who wants them. What's that? You want to attend a private school for $45,000, $55,000, $60,000, $65,000 a year? No problem. We'll give you a loan. The issue is that those loans are irreconcilable. You cannot get rid of that debt through bankruptcy. You will be saddled with that loan your entire adult life. And if you still have that loan in retirement, they will garnish your retirement savings to pay off that loan. So, another amazing lesson my mom and dad gave me was when I was a young man. I wanted to go to New York and study the arts. I wanted to study theater and film and dance. And I went on a big audition tour all around the country. And so I went to Chicago, New York. I went to Arizona, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. And I applied at many schools, and I got in to many, many schools. In fact, my number one choice to go to was the Tisch School of the Arts at NYU. And lo and behold, I had a good audition. I was actually quite relaxed because I didn't think I could afford it, even if I got in. And so I guess some of the pressure was off, and they liked what they saw. And I get the acceptance letter to go to NYU. And I was 19 and very romantic and idyllic, and the idea of studying the arts in New York City was mesmerizing. And when I told my folks about my acceptance, they were very proud of me and very excited. And they said, "Wow, this is amazing, Jeremiah. You know, we'll find a way." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna find a way." Well, I lined up loans and my housing, and that summer, about a month, I think it was in August, like early August, late July, I was going to move in September. My folks called me, and with heaviness in their voice, they said, "You know, Maya," my nickname was Maya growing up. They said, "You know, Maya, we're really sorry. You know, your mother and I are looking at our finances, and we just don't think we can swing this much debt right now." And with a heavy sigh, but I also was realistic. I said, "It's okay." And that was a very important moment in my life. At the time, NYU was only $36,000 a year. Now, I had graduated high school as a full junior. It was a separate story. So I had 89 credits. So I only would have needed to attend NYU for 3 years. But for all intents and purposes, you know, we're looking at a little over about $110,000 in debt. Which I realize now what a crippling amount of debt that actually is. I don't think many young people realize what it means to be $50,000 in debt, $100,000 in debt, $150,000 in debt. These things are very, very, very large numbers, especially when you're just starting out in life. And it was a very important and humbling lesson for me. So, if I could offer advice to a vast majority of young people out there, you know, who want to go to college like I did, I really, really wanted to go to college, it's to very carefully weigh the costs and benefits. So the way I did it is I moved to Seattle, Washington. Turns out I had a professor at community college who had gone to UW, University of Washington, and said they had an amazing theater program. It wasn't even really on my radar. And I looked it up, and turns out they did. So I looked at the tuition, and the out-of-state tuition, because it's a state school, was at the time, I want to say, $18,000 a year. But in-state was something like $6,000 a year. And so I said, well, Jay, it's time to get out of Ohio. It's time to go make my mark on the world. And so we packed up everything I owned in the back of my '85 Chevy Silverado pickup, which I bought from my grandfather, paid for by working at Pizza Hut and the Olive Garden as a server and busboy, and headed to Seattle. My mom joined me, and as soon as I got there, I established that I opened a bank account, registered to vote, had a place for rent, so that as long as I lived in the state and paid those state taxes 1 year prior to the start of the school year, I would get in-state tuition. And to make a long story longer, I got a job, and multiple jobs, and ended up getting my in-state tuition. So, I know it's difficult to be financially frugal in our youth. There's lots of temptation to go out and spend money on a nice car, a flashy apartment, going out to bars and restaurants, with our friends, and I would just highly, highly encourage you and everybody else to show restraint. I remember the last bit of really good financial advice I got from my dad as I wanted to get a new car. I wanted to get a new Volkswagen GTI. And I was at the car dealership, and I picked out the car that I wanted. And I asked my dad, what do you think? Should I do this? And he was like, well, Jeremiah, let's look at the cost of fun. First of all, is your current car paid off? Yes, Dad. Paid in full? Yes, Dad. Okay. Does your current car run? Yeah. Do you like your current car? I did. I had a Volkswagen GTI, had a 2003, and I just wanted to upgrade to like a 2010 or something. It's like, yeah, I do like my car. It's like, okay. So you want a new car, and what is the down payment they're looking at? And I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna put like $2,000 down. It's okay, $2,000, okay, $2,000 down. And what's your monthly payment gonna be? And I was like, I think it's gonna be like, like $396. And he's like, okay, let's call it $400 per month. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. And he was like, well, how much more insurance is that gonna cost? And I was like, well, probably another $50 a month. So I'm like, okay, an additional $50 a month. Okay. How's gas mileage? About the same. I was like, oh, it's about the same. And he's like, okay, so let's do some basic math here. So $400 per year is going to be an additional, that'd be $4,800 a year. So let's say $4,800 per year for 5 years. Yes. And an additional $50 a month in insurance. So times 10 is 500, plus another 2 is $700. So just out of the gate, you're going to be paying an additional $5,500 per year just in this car, and you're going to be paying that for roughly the next 5 years. Oh, I'm sorry, plus the $2,000. So in year one, the total is going to be $7,500, maybe more, and from then on, an additional $5,500 per year. Is that worth it to you? And when I looked at it in a long-term sense, I was like, I see what you're doing. And it cleared my head. And I walked out of the car dealership, and I drove that same car for the next 3 years, I think. Yeah. So look, we can get into retirement stuff later. Let's get you out of debt. Let's not acquire any more. And when you view the cost of things over a full year, it puts it into perspective. Okay? So why don't you come back and see me in 6 months, and we'll see how we're looking. All right. Okay, I look forward to seeing you again. Take care.